Welcome to the next installment in my video lecture series from Microeconomic Principles. And in this particular video lecture, I'm going to be taking a look at a potential test problem on Test 2 that relates to Chapter 13, the one on monopoly, and it's the one I have highlighted here. Graphically illustrate the difference in output and pricing for a monopoly and a perfectly competitive market using price, marginal revenue, demand, and marginal cost. Assume that marginal cost is constant. Explain your answer in detail. For this problem, what you need to do is have a downward sloping demand curve and the associated marginal revenue curve, which is inside of the demand curve. When it says, in the problem, it says that marginal cost is constant, that just means that marginal cost is horizontal. So if you could just draw in a horizontal line like that, label it as marginal cost, and I'll make it so it's easier to see. So that is your marginal cost. So if you remember, in perfect competition, marginal cost is equal to the price. There is zero economic profit in that particular marketplace. So when we have marginal cost in the long run, so when we have marginal cost is equal to price, in order to determine output in a perfectly competitive marketplace and compare it to a monopoly market, we need to look at where marginal cost intersects the demand curve. So we have marginal cost here, we have demand here. Where they intersect will give us the output for this particular, for a perfectly competitive marketplace. So if we go from that point and we go straight down, that will give us Q, and I'll just say PC for perfect competition. And let me make that a subscript. And also let me make it a larger font so it's easier to see. So that gives us the output in a perfectly competitive marketplace. And since marginal cost is equal to the price in a perfectly competitive marketplace is equal to marginal cost. Let me make that a subscript, and again, let me make that a little easier to say. So remember that in a perfectly competitive marketplace, marginal cost is equal to the price, and that is given where marginal cost intersects the demand curve. If we go straight down from that point, so we have marginal cost intersects the demand curve. If we go straight down, that will give us the output level in a perfectly competitive marketplace. And since price is equal to marginal cost in a perfectly competitive marketplace, in the long run, there we have the equilibrium price is given thusly. So that's how you determine what the price and output is in a perfectly competitive marketplace. For a monopoly, price is going to be equal to marginal cost is going to be equal to marginal revenue, and that will give us the profit maximizing output level. So if we go from marginal cost, we follow marginal cost until we hit marginal revenue, where they intersect right here, straight down will give us the output level in monopoly. And let me label that QM for monopoly. Again, I will make it a subscript and change the size of it so it's a little easier for everyone to see. So for us to determine what the monopoly level of output is, we use marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue. We go straight down from that intersection point, and that gives us the monopoly output level. Once we have that, we can go from the QM up to the demand curve, and that will give us the price in monopoly. So if I go from this point straight up, touching the demand curve, so we have QM to the demand curve and across, that gives us the price that a monopolist will set. And again, let me make that size a little bit bigger so students can see it. So make sure you're comfortable with that. Also, make sure you make it that you give some type of description of what goes on, and also make a note of what. We can see that the price in monopoly is higher than the price in a perfectly competitive market because The monopolist has market power. It has discretion over pricing. The price is not set for them. Also, realize that when we compare the output levels, output in the monopoly market is lower than in a perfectly competitive marketplace. And because of this, if we think of this, if you think along those lines, remember a monopolist has market power, it has discretion over pricing, so it will adjust its output level to where marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue, and that output level is lower here than it is in a perfectly competitive marketplace where marginal cost will be set equal to the price in the long run. So make sure you're comfortable, number one, of how to determine these. For a perfectly competitive marketplace, set an output level where marginal cost is equal to demand. That will give you your output level in perfect competition. The price is equivalent to marginal cost in a perfectly competitive marketplace. So that gives you your price and output in a perfectly competitive marketplace for this comparison. Then, if we go and follow marginal cost and we want to make a determination of what output is in a monopoly market, we go where marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue. We go straight down from there, and that gives us our output in a monopoly market. Once we have output, we can go up to the demand curve because that gives us the relationship between price and quantity, and that gives us the monopoly price. So realize that in a monopoly market, our expectation is that prices are going to be higher in a monopoly market than in a perfectly competitive marketplace, and also that the level of output in the monopoly market will be less than the level of output in a perfectly competitive marketplace.